Hello everyone and welcome to my channel Uxtsuki. In this video I'm gonna talk about perspective in general. In art, we are able to use something called vanishing points. That is where the lines of the horizon converge. So for example, if this is my vanishing point, I could trace lines from this to outside of it, and I could use this as reference. So if I had something heading that direction, actually this would be something like this. Even though perspective like these vanishing points and lines are mainly used for man-made things because usually we have mathematical precision, and in nature curves and arcs feels way more natural than this is important to make things as they are in the same universe, as the same path and logic of the same thing in the same scene. Alright, you might have either one vanishing point, two vanishing points, three vanishing points. With zero vanishing points, you have two objects, characters, buildings, and etc. interacting or close to each other. If you have zero, they not necessarily will feel displaced, but if you feel this way, maybe it's because the lack of vanishing points. Alright? As I said, vanishing points may have zero, so you would like have something like this, and if you draw a different character, they might feel flat and even maybe not part of the same universe. You might have one vantage point. So if I draw a character, obviously this little guy could be way less condensed, but now they feel way more the same plane. Actually, maybe if I overlap this one, this effect could be even reinforced. We have two vantage points, so something like this. For example, if I have a building in here, so this two-faced building, for example, transmit way more cohesion with how things are lined up. Last but not least, you might have three different vanishing points. And as I said, even more depending on how you build these vanishing points up. Because for example, you are inside of a room, just imagine a random room, and you have objects in random position. So you have something that faces this way, something that faces that way, something that is just like square, something that is like a sphere, or something like this. Each one of them might have a vanishing point. So usually we would be able only to see three faces of, for example, a cube or a rectangle. But since any object might project a vanishing point and you might align other things with them, so the number of vanishing points actually is the number of how many vanishing points you actually want. The vanishing points usually start when you decide where your horizon is, and lines out of this will come out. But you might actually have a grid. So what is? When you have two lines coming out of these vanishing points, you might want to align them in perspective and make them actually a grid. So things would actually be placed over this grid. So balls would not actually follow the horizon line, but actually they would be placed over it in order to convey perspective. Vanishing points works to align usually trade and playing things, but you might actually rather use also to create grids. So with grids, we are able actually to set, if this is closer to horizon line, if I have something beneath this line, for example, if this line is actually beneath this one, if I try to add a ball in here, I would actually see more of its face than this one. If this is the same level of the camera, like of my perspective, I would be able to see a lot of shadows in here. This I wouldn't be able to see shadows, but I would able to see lights because this is actually like the top view of it. And if I have something that is actually above my horizontal, I would say way more shadows. In this case, actually in this perspective, if the light is coming from here, I would basically see only shadows plus ring lights, light that is like extremes that wraps around the subject only then, alright? Now about perspective, not on games, but in pixel art in general. Actually, we like have the main one, right? So first we have the side view. We only actually see two planes, right? The depth in here might be very hard to transmit only by silhouette, alright? But actually they are classic. But this gave us a lot of details and information of bottom and mid part of this subject. We might have a top-down view. The top-down view is basically we only see usually the head of a character, for example, the shoulders, and if they are animated, the hands or the foot when they walk, and obviously any movement from them we would able to see. But in the idle state, we would see just head and shoulders. In buildings, architectures, or other things, we would as well only see the top part of it. This is way more dynamic. In the top-down view, I would be able to feel way more the number of enemies compare side view. Side view, I may have a lot of enemies as well, but they might overlap each other. In the top view, I might actually have a lot of enemies like this. I would like feel this amount of enemies way easier. So usually when you have a lot of things that overlaps each other, the top view might be a solution for you. We also have the 3/4 that works similarly to the top down, but we also have information about how the character is. So we do not have a side view of the face of this character, and there are things that, for example, if this little guy have a huge belly, for example, I would be able to see that this part, for example. In here, I would be able to see, right? Here, I won't see anything. Here, I would see just a glimpse of what is below their belly. So top-down film is a really cool style because you are dealing with two faces, so the feeling of depth is transmitted. We also, for example, see the top of buildings, top of characters, top of trees. These make everything more stylized, and we might feel way more like exploring and adventures because things have like layers, depth, and like height. So we are chasing for hints of things that overlapping. Actually, they are in a different layers. So we might explore and have a new different world. So top-down view is a really cool perspective compared to these ones. I think for so far this is the best for stylized ones. We also have isometric. Isometric is the one that use the three vanishing points, but the top down usually use two. So we have something like this, and they actually work something like this. So if you have something, you would be able to see the top part of it shrinking the more it goes, and also the more it goes below, we have this distortion of the subject. In isometry, we have the possibility to see three axes at the same time, and this is, I think, the most characteristic part of pixel art. If you ever saw any type of art being like core, the heart of something, isometric would be, in my opinion, the most pixel art perspective. Even though there are a lot of games that use a top-down view, they are actually pretty cool. This feeling of how patented the isometric view is for pixel art, I think it's just absurd. So you ever felt the feeling of want to make isometric pixel art? I support a lot because this is very stylized. Even though I think this is not even right, but this feels amazing. As I said, this is very stylized one. I think this is like the base of pixel art as well with top down. There are a lot of games and new games that uses actually top down more than side view, actually use 3/4 rather than side view. There are also, I think, is bimetric. That is something that we see three faces of a cube. One side is actually way longer than the other, so we have like the feeling of seeing from the top perspective, but sided. I'm putting it this way. So yeah, that's it. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.